only 5 minutes, but the points that he makes on this are very, very applicable to this. And then I'm going to go forward and show you why what he says is correct and why it debunks the heliocentric model. So let's go ahead and play this really quick, and hopefully everybody can see it fine, and here we go.
Were you one of the millions of Americans who saw the recent eclipse? Did you know that something is wrong between what you were witnessing and what the scientific community told you what you were seeing? It's called cognitive dissonance, and we've all been told a lie. A couple of days before the Great American Solar Eclipse, I watched a YouTube video where the questions of the size of the moon's shadow was raised. If you haven't been paying attention, then you wouldn't know that people are questioning how catastrophically tiny the shadow is in relation to the actual size of the moon. Not only is the diameter of the shadow a physical impossibility, but there is another physics problem regarding the eclipse that has been totally overlooked, and once again concerns a critical error in planetary physics. Have a look at this photo. I took this photo myself and zoomed the camera slightly so the moon would look accurate in the photo to the size I was observing with my own eyes. I think I did a pretty good job at getting the dimensions right. Now, the moon is 27% of the size of Earth, so if I was to take this picture and adjust the moon to fit, then pretend that I took this photo from the moon, then this is how big the Earth would look relative to standing on the moon. It's pretty big, isn't it? Given the sheer size of Earth in the sky, one would correctly assume that light reflected towards the moon would be greater, but it gets better. Earth is actually more reflective than the moon, and this is the problem. When NASA sent the astronauts to the moon, they forgot to send a light meter that could deliver accurate readings back to Earth of Earth light during the lunar night. This would have given scientists a dead accurate account of the Earthshine on the new moon, but because no permanent instrument was ever sent to the moon, ever, astrophysicists still have to rely on mathematical equations to model how much reflected light to expect. Sana Dolichva, an astrophysicist from Melbourne, Australia, wrote this on the subject. The moon has an albedo, which is the measurement of how much light is reflected without being absorbed, of 0.136. The energy the full moon is reflecting at the Earth is 0.0037 watts per meter squared. For the purposes of comparison, a 100 watt light bulb from 10 meters away has a brightness of 0.02 watts per meter squared. Remember, the moon is actually dimmer than that. Now, we've all experienced moonlight and shadows during a full moon, so we all know how bright the moonlight is. The Earth, on the other hand, has an albedo of 0.306. The energy Earth reflects at the moon is 0.12 watts per meter squared, so because it's bigger and more reflective, the Earth, as seen from the moon, gives off about 32 times more energy per second. That means the full Earth in the lunar sky is roughly 32 times brighter than the full moon in the Earth's sky, and 6 times brighter than a 100 watt light bulb. Now, given that amount of light, and given that the Earth lost only a tiny fraction of light from a piddly 70-mile black disk during the eclipse, where then is the Earth shine upon the moon when it otherwise blocks out the sun? This is what one should expect from the scientific model as the moon blocks out the sun, and likewise, the sky should also be a pale blue 70 miles either side of you. So why does the moon not glow even a fraction in the bask of Earthshine during a total solar eclipse? It's physically impossible that the moon remain pitch black when 98.3% of the reflected light from a full Earth was directed squarely at it during the recent American eclipse. Our scientific community, headed by NASA, has never explained planetary mechanics correctly when discussing the moon shadow cast upon the Earth during a solar eclipse, and neither does it communicate on the complete lack of planet shine that the moon should be receiving from Earth. Given that neither physics models are demonstrated during a total solar eclipse, there are two propositions that the global community now need to ask. If planetary mechanics is not being demonstrated during an eclipse, then where are we? And second, why is the scientific community not being forthright with the same question?
Johnny, that really hurt!
Okay, so my cousin raises some great points here, and indeed, we should be with those kind of numbers, and he broke it down into the watts per meter and all the, he did all the math on it and basically showed that we should not only be able to see at least some degree of earthshine, but it should actually extend, to a little bit of a glow on each side of what we're seeing there. So given that his numbers are accurate, and I have no reason to doubt that they are not, you have to ask yourself, where is that earth shine? Okay, now I'm not going to tell you that the mainstream has not put propaganda out there to tell us that earth shine has been recorded. In fact, I just saw somebody in the chat say, oh yeah, we got earth shine on this last eclipse. Really, I'd like to see that, and I'd like to see it without it being photoshopped, because what I did is I went looking for things like that, and what I found was silly stuff like this from Sky and Telescope, saying that this is the earthshine during the 2008 total solar eclipse. That's amazing, right? That just looks like the moon, and it's blue, but yet, and of course this is kind of buried. It took me a while to actually find this, but this is buried, and of course we know by looking at any other eclipse and any footage of it, we see nothing like this. We see absolute black, and I personally took some of the footage that we took through our telescopes and our cameras and brighten it up as much as possible, and again, there's nothing there. Here we have another guy that took these, and this of course is pretty typical of what we got, but then he goes down here and he says, oh yeah, here we go, in HDR during totality, where you start to see the moon's face from reflected earthshine. And of course I ran this through photo forensics, and I don't need to tell you what I found. This thing is phony as a $3 bill. In fact, it's ridiculous when you actually go through and look at this. So that's, like I said, it's not to say that they're not putting out propaganda saying that, oh yeah, we see this earth shine just like this. It's like, yeah, sure you do. I'm sorry, but I don't believe it. So, but what I did do is I also looked at some other stuff of earth shine on a moon, right, that is partially lit, partial phase, and lo and behold, we see earthshine here, and it isn't too far off from what he said that we should be seeing. This is from our Rochester Education. This one is from space.com. Here's the earthshine glow, right? And we're even able to see it even with the bright, waxing phase or possibly waning phase, this crescent moon. We're able to see it very easily there. And here we have also from Universe Today, same type of pictures, and this is with the moon partially lit. Okay, so great. So we are able to see, supposedly, and I'm not claiming that this is true either, guys. There's problems with this, but in the mainstream model, here we're seeing earthshine on the moon. Now, it does not follow that if we can see this with the moon partially, with a partial phase showing, okay, that when it is a new moon and we have virtually 98.5 whatever percent of the earth shine coming right back at the moon, that we can pick up absolutely nothing but black. In fact, obviously from what we've seen, we are having a hard time even seeing, the moon as a body. It just seems like there's nothing there, just utter blackness. So this, in and of itself, in my opinion, is an absolute globe killer. There is no way that if we can get earthshine from these partial phases, that we should not be able to see in a perfect lineup with the moon, and in broad daylight with all that earthshine coming right back at the moon, aimed square at it, that we see nothing but absolute black. What do you guys think about this?